3, 2, 1.
We'd like to welcome you to another edition of Grok Talk, brought to you by New Hampshire's leading conservative blog site, granitegrok.com. We are your feared extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken, rabble-rousing, letter-writing, radio microphone stomping conservatives and rational libertarians. So get ready for more news and opinion you could only get from granitegrok.com.
Grok Talk.
All right, we are back. After having a brisk and invigorating discussion about compacts and healthcare, and before that, all kinds of stuff that's been going on in the state and the nation. But we're going to come back to education, because really all kind of starts with education, and education can be a huge problem if you don't get up and get down to the State House and get involved and help co-sponsor bills and support those bills and lobby for those bills and knock on doors and visit your legislators and other people's legislators and go, hey, hey, and, you know.
Indeed.
And Michelle Levell has been doing a lot of that. A lot of it.
Yes, it's all about our kids. It's what kind of future are they going to have? What kind of future will our state have? And if caring about our kids' education doesn't get you up and involved, what will?
Well, it also goes to what is the proper role of government. And I think in a lot of cases, as if you read Granite Grok at all, you know exactly where I'm coming from, is that we believe that the role of government has superseded an awful lot of what is going on, what should be in not only the sphere of parents, but civil society as a whole. And we've talked about this before, where the founders' model was limited government, large and expansive civil society, where those of us individuals, consisting of families and relations, friends, neighborhoods, and what have you, we're supposed to all interact and solve our own problems. The progressives have come along, and in education, it certainly started with the industrial classroom model, the blue social model, cornerstone, of pushing out everything that's civil society, and pretty soon it will devour, as we talked about earlier, the Hobbesian Leviathan government, where there is nothing but government. And, the Democrats are fine with that. They said during their convention, government is the one thing that we all belong to. And they thought, well, we've all gone in, and I keep thinking, what, they've bought me? And that seems to be more true of the latter than it is the former. Democrats run towards government. We're trying to get away. I'm part of the just leave me alone coalition. And in education, you're pretty much trying to do the same thing.
Yes.
Who should be in charge, Michelle?
Well, obviously, I think it's the parents. It's the parents' job to raise their kids, to decide how to best meet the needs and goals for their kids. And unfortunately, a lot of people, including legislators and what I like to call educarats, they believe that once you drop your kids off at the school bus or at the public school doors, all of a sudden they belong to the school. And so there have been legislative efforts to kind of reassert parents' ability to direct their kids' education, even when they're in the public schools. And those have met with some opposition. Sometimes we've been successful, like in 2012, there's a parent opt-out bill that allows parents to say no to certain controversial material for their child, but then the parents are responsible for that alternative and the expense of it. A lot of parents don't even know that they have that right, that they have that option for their kids. And this last session, there was a bill, it was HB 332, that would have closed what I think of as the loophole for notification when it concerned topics or unit studies of human sexual health. This was a bill sponsored by Representative Victoria Sullivan out of Manchester, and it just would have applied a 2-week notification period for parents just to know. How can you opt out of something if you don't know it's coming? How do you know that this is something I'm concerned about for how it's going to be taught to my kids unless you're told about it?
And, of course, coming from Guilford, we saw a direct result of that went international viral.
Yes.
Of a parent, Billy Bear, who was upset that he didn't get prior notification of sexually explicit, rough teen sex, which underage, that's rape,
yeah,
statutory rape, and wasn't given enough notice of that. And the school board's going, not a big deal. The teachers are going, not a big deal. He was upset because that's not his morality. And the government schools are taking over that role.
Yes.
I've posted about it before. Teachers believe they own the kids.
Yes. If I remember correctly, that situation in Guilford was revolving around a 9th grade English class.
Yes.
So it's not just sex ed classes where there can be these materials or topics that parents may want just a heads up about, and they can decide what's right for their kids. Kids are mature at different rates. They've got different sensitivities. Who knows what's going on in the family dynamics at that time? So it just involves a conversation with the parents. That's all they're asking for, is to be part of the process.
But they won't. And it really comes down to this. I know Hillary Clinton has said something similar, but the classic case lately was Dr. Melissa Harris Perry. It's on my Progressives and the Proper Role of, and their view of the proper role of government. We have never invested as much in public education as we should because and this is the bolder part, we've always had a private notion of children. Your kid is yours and totally your responsibility. We haven't had a very collective notion of these are our children. I mean, that basically says it all.
It does.
Go!
Thank you.
What?
I want to point something out really quick just because, years ago when we were all kids, in school, they didn't have any of these notifications. Why? Because they weren't giving us materials that could possibly be offensive or disturbing. That's why. Now we need them because the left has so far overtaken our school system that they are pushing this material that is inappropriate.
There were some very controversial materials. I believe it was a movie shown to elementary school kids in Manchester last year, and this is why Representative Sullivan sponsored this bill. It involved a class her own son was in, and she was just horrified when she found out after the fact that this particular movie had been shown in class. And her son was upset, other parents were upset. So the bill, it was HB 332, there was a real, genuine reason, not this solution in search of a problem. It had, stuff happens in our classrooms, and parents only find out after the fact. So this was a bill that would have just given parents a 2 weeks heads up.
We actually had a... there we go. I sound weird today in this headset thing. Maybe it's my ears. They're getting bad. When I was in high school, and to Kimberly's point, we actually had a class where it was an English class where it was heavy in Shakespeare. Actual Shakespeare, not the diluted, watered-down kind. So, I mean, there's mature subject matter in this, and I was a sophomore. So, the teacher handed out a paper to everybody and said, we do a lot of this. We cover a lot of Shakespeare in this class, and we want to make sure it's okay. And if it's not, we'll just move you into a different class. And that's basically what this is. You're just saying, look, here's some mature material.
Yep.
You may or may not be ready for it. You decide, and we'll make an adjustment.
What a novel idea.
A lot of fingers in the air here.
Yeah. Okay, who goes first?
Mike was first.
Yeah.
Mike's finger first.
So it's the flying fickle finger, and Steve is on the keyboard there. So my point is, it's not just the explicit material; it's the other stuff that they've introduced. It used to be literature and things that made you think. Now there's far more tendency for books to be actually depressing and miserable, and they wonder why teen suicide is on the rise. In my opinion, in a lot of cases, it's school-induced suicide. And they don't tell you they're teaching or asking the kids to read this stuff either. Skip.
I dryly note...
Oh, God. Go back to the pre-show for that.
That here we are in elementary and high schools that the teachers can say anything they want, and not even the parents are going to be told about it. Yet in college, it's all the rage of trigger warnings, to bring up your point.
Trigger warnings.
They can't... I mean, a professor can't even tell semi-adult kids, who I think they shouldn't be let out of the house and stuffed in their basements, if they need a trigger warning about Shakespeare or the Iliad or some of these other great works of English and Western literature. But they have to be told, oh, you may get offended. You may have a crisis and have to go to the adult kindergarten safe room. I just wonder, just another case of society being turned upside down. And can't the parents turn this upside right if given a chance?
They could, and HB 332 was one of those, and we're still trying to. I don't know if we have a chance to override that one. That one is so squashed. I'm not sure we can, but I would love to try to reintroduce that concept.
And
in a
for
couple
our
years.
listeners, that dealt with.
That was the bill that Victoria Sullivan introduced, with where it just pertained to the 2 weeks notice on sexual units for health class and stuff. It was very narrow. But if you read the governor's veto statement, she said that this bill would have prohibited the teaching of some great literature like Shakespeare. And on the Senate floor, Senator David Waters said that it could even prohibit elementary school teachers from teaching the Charlotte's Web. Really? I mean, they really grossly misunderstood the bill.
Charlotte's Web is part of sex ed now?
Well, maybe for Senator Waters,
Maybe
but
Senator Waters.
but
Mr. Waters.
the bill itself was very, very narrowly written, the way the language was, so that it explicitly applied
One fine
to
pig.
It was explicitly narrowed to curriculum course material used for instruction of human sexuality or human sexual education. So it would not have pertained to these really good pieces of literature, and yet, they. Oh,
You might
there
hear
you go.
better.
That's okay. I still listen to you. There you go. You sound so much better.
Thank you.
But it was as though Waters and the governor had not even read the bill.
Well, I always
Imagine
note that
that.
when it comes to a conservative type bill, the Democrats and the Socialists in the House and in the Senate, and I kid you not, I don't think there's much difference between the two anymore. But they always go and jump off the rhetorical cliff because they always go to that 1% that says something's going to go wrong and what if, and they don't worry about the vast majority of the people when it comes to their issue. Of course, they'll immediately flip-flop. There's no consistency here when they're talking about, oh, well, we're all in this together. Well, then they won't let the small percentage of us who just want to be left alone be left alone. But it really, I'm sorry, it comes back to the theme, Michelle. The parents are to be avoided. The parents are the problem. The parents get in the way of the educational elite. The parents are the stumbling blocks. They are and yet we're being told, in order for a kid to learn well, we need engaged parents. Well, then when you get them, they get castigated. I mean, there's just no sanity to this anymore.
It's like they only want parents to drop off brownies and cookies for the bake sale. That's
Oh,
it.
you can't do that under
That's true.
Michelle Obama's law.
Right. So it seems to.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Kale chips.
Yeah. It seems.
Oh.
It seems to me that essentially it's too much trouble for the teachers to have to deal with the parents and to explain themselves. So I have to ask, if the powers of persuasion of these fine educators are so poor that they cannot persuade the parents that they are doing the right thing, how the heck can they persuade the children of the veracity of the material that they are presenting?
Because they know that the children aren't going to question an authority figure.
Young skulls full of mush.
Well, I mean, they are trained. They're beaten down. They're put into little boxes. You sit down when the bell rings. You raise your hand when you want to talk. And, yeah, it trains them to be very good, obedient little citizens.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We will be right back. Stay tuned.